Okay, we're here with Chris, who's lead producer on Gears 3, and basically, Gears has sort of become a bit of a staple for most of the gamers out there. I was wondering, what sort of new things have you added to 3?
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of stuff, and so the one thing you don't want to do is take away what's great about 1 and 2, and so right away we focus on making sure that the core of the game is even better, and so we tweak and tune everything that's existing there. Especially in the stuff that maybe wasn't received as positively as some of the other things. And then you start to look at what do you want to do differently. And in a shooter, it's easy to start with characters and weapons, and so we've added in some new characters. Anya, who's been in the first 2 games, is now in the fight. You can play as her. She's armored up and has a weapon. We've added in Sam Byrne, who's another new female character. And so, that kind of adds some variety, especially for our female characters who really want to identify with something. And our females are tough. They fight. They're not there just to look good, and so that's always really cool. And then when you start to look at weapons, we tweak everything that's there constantly to try to get that right balance. And then we've added in some new ones. We have a retro Lancer, which is an old school Lancer. So this is before the Locusts have emerged, and you didn't need a chainsaw back then to cut through another human. And so it has a big bayonet on the end, and you can like charge and stab a guy with the bayonet and kind of throw him aside. And so that's a really cool. People have seen it. We put video out there of it, and they think it looks pretty cool. But I'm telling you, when you do it, it's just so satisfying. It's great. And there's a host of other new weapons. One of the big ones is the Digger Launcher, and this thing fires out like a little creature. It burrows underground and then pops up like a bouncing Betty and explodes. And so you can go under walls, undercover, and so that kind of changes the battle as well. And that's kind of where you get the core, and then. Like I said, you tweak what you have that's good, and so you bring back another great story. You tweak the gameplay. Multiplayer went through just pretty much a complete overhaul, and so there's a lot of new stuff in multiplayer.
Now, as far as the story goes, I mean, we've all seen the trailer, so it's clear that some time has passed since the last game. Obviously, it's been enough time for Dom to grow a sweet beard. I was just wondering how much time has passed, and can you give us a little bit of details on the story?
Yeah, so it's 2 years have passed since the end of Gears 2, since Jacinto was sunk. And what's happened in those 2 years is, the civilization is pretty much fractured. The government, the COG has dissolved. And so everyone's doing what they can to survive, much like the Stranded were in Gears 1 and Gears 2. And so they're all on their own, just doing what they can to try to live. And that burden is kind of weighing on them. Are they going to survive or they're not? And of course, with what happened to Dom in Gears 2 and his wife, he doesn't smile much anymore, and he's got the big beard. He's kind of somber, and so the arc of Gears 3 is you find out in the beginning that Adam Phoenix, Marcus's father, is still indeed alive, and your mission through the game is to eventually find him. Yeah. And so we take you through parts of Sarah, the world that Gears is on, that you've just never been to before, places where the war necessarily hasn't touched as much as other areas, and then in other areas where the war hit in ways that just completely destroyed it and has changed the landscape dramatically. And so it's really quite interesting where we take you through, and you go from war-torn Ashen cities all the way up to some of the things you see in multiplayer, where we have trees and foliage and bright lights and some colors. So quite a variety.
Now, I mean, you mentioned multiplayer, and we just demoed the Team Deathmatch mode, which is new to Gears 3. I was wondering if you could give us some details on that.
Yeah, like I said, multiplayer is way overhauled. I mean, so it starts right away in the back end, and we've added dedicated servers. And so that really fixes a lot of issues that kind of cropped up in Gears 2, in that the dedicated server, it arbitrates the game, and all the information goes to the server, and it goes out. We put our servers in these data centers that have fat internet pipes, and so it's fast, the lag is almost non-existent, and it also removes exploits. There's no way to cheat a system that you can't get into, and so, right away we're making the games fair, and we're making them fast, and so as a result they're going to be a lot of fun, and that just brings it to, make it really playable and really engaging and really fun. And then we add in Team Deathmatch, a new mode into Gears. We put our own spin on it, where each team starts with a certain number of respawns, and you count down. Every time you use one of those spawns, your team loses one. And so the first team to 0 loses. Yeah. And so we've added some elements there where it's still a little bit team-based, but when you get into Team Deathmatch, not a lot of people play as a team, right? It's mostly individuals, and so we want to make sure that people can do that and they can have fun. Yeah. But at the same time, we don't want to, it's called Team Deathmatch for a reason, and we want people to still kind of team up. We've tweaked some of the other modes. We have King of the Hill, which is kind of an evolution of Annex, where you have to capture a point on the map and then hold it to gain points. And then part of the beta as well, we'll have Capture the Leader to get some testing in on. That comes with a lot of new skins, multiplayer character skins and weapon skins. We found, if you're familiar with the golden weapons in Gears 2, those things were like crazy popular, going for hundreds of dollars on eBay in some cases when people wanted to sell them. And so we've taken that system and really jacked it up, and now we can do an almost unlimited number, including animated skins, which you'll be able to get in the beta, this like cool burning flaming Lancer, which is really excellent. And so all of that ties into, along with medals and ribbons, to add a bit of a grind to the multiplayer. You know, we added leveling in one of the title updates in Gears 2, and so that's there, and now we have all these unlocks, and it kind of gives you a reason to go through and progress and get better and keep playing. And so we want to bring a lot of people into the multiplayer that maybe didn't play before, or maybe were dissatisfied with how it worked in Gears 2. And so,
now you mentioned some of the new weapons that you've got. Are there any new interesting enemies that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, we showed it in the trailer, and our big thing at E3 was about the Lambent.
Yeah.
And so what has happened in the world is that the emulsion, the fuel, the energy source, has mutated the Locust into these terrifying creatures called the Lambent. And what's great about them is when you fight them, you have your normal Lambent and you shoot them like a Locust and they blow up. Then they also have the ability, they might mutate on you. Yeah. You might shoot it and his arm might turn into a big tentacle, and then he shoots fireballs at you. And you might have a giant head, and then when you kill him, the head's still alive. It's crawling around like a snake, and you have to watch out. And so it really changes those particular encounters and those battles in a way that you've never played Gears before. You're kind of, suddenly it's much more dynamic. You might have to move around a lot more than you used to. So.
All right, well, there you have it. That's the latest news on one of the biggest titles of the next year, and it comes out in September?
September 20th.
All right, great. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, appreciate it.